live without you? I could not see. Lord, what would I do in life? Where would I go? How would I handle things? All that I know, I fell again. Lord, I fall so sure, so sure. You know my end, Lord, from the start. You know my heart, and I need you. I need you. Say now, where would I go? Where would I go and go in me? How would I live? Without you? I will not see. What would I do in life? Where would I go? How would I handle things? All that I know. I fell again, Lord. I fall so short. You know my end, Lord, from the start. You know my heart. My faith, I need you. I want to sing it now. I need you. Say it again. I need you. My. I need you. When I cry, you hear me. When I call your name, you're near me. And your hand is there to hold me. I need you, Lord. I need you. When I cry, you hear my voice. You hear me. When I call your name, you're near me. And your hand is there just to hold me. I need you, Lord. I need you. When I cry, you hear my voice. When I call your name, you're near me. And your hand is there, Lord, just to hold me. I need you, Lord. I need you. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you. I need you. I need you, Lord. I need you. I fell again. I fall so short. But you know my end, Lord, from the start. You know my heart. Come on, everybody say, I need you. Everybody say it now. I need you. Oh, my. I need you. You need the Lord, say, I need you. You love the Lord, say, I need you. Come on and say it now. I need you. One more time. I need you. Amen.
Amen.
Let you know who you need, when you need, and why you need.
Yes.
And when you begin to understand how much you truly need Him,
It's something that although we'll try to come in contact with people, and again, I get it, we want to have people around us that we can trust, that we can lean on, that we can talk to, but he's still a friend that surpasses all understanding.
Amen.
And when you can call on him, he already knows, already understands, but it's just good to call on him to let him know what's going on.
Yes.
So just to let him know that we need you each and every day of our lives, and we just can't make it by ourselves. Amen. I'm going to ask, if you will, journey with us in the Old Testament to the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32. We'll start looking at verse number 3. Deuteronomy chapter 32. We're going to journey down to verse number 3. Deuteronomy chapter 32, starting at verse number 3. And we see that it reads on this wise. Deuteronomy chapter 32, starting at verse number 3. I will proclaim the name of the Lord. Oh, praise the greatness of our God. He is the rock. His works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong, upright and just is he. They have acted corruptly toward him. To their shame, they are no longer his children, but a warped and crooked generation. Is this the way you repay the Lord, O foolish and unwise people? Is he not your Father, your Creator, who made you and formed you? If you will, go with me over to verse number 44. Still in chapter 32, but go to verse 44. Still in chapter 32, going to verse 44. And it reads on this wise. It says, Moses came with Joshua, son of Nun, and spoke all the words of this song in the hearing of the people. When Moses finished reciting all these words to Israel, he said to them, take to the heart all the words I have solemnly declared to you this day, so that you may command your children to obey carefully all the words of this law. They are not just idle words for you, they are your life. By them you will live long in the land you are crossing the Jordan to possess. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word, and take root in our hearts, that it may spring up better understanding. You may be seated. I want to share with you for just a little while, my brothers and sisters, from the thought, a godly perspective. A godly perspective. If you be so kind to share our thought with someone sitting close to you, a godly perspective. You have somebody else around you to share with them as well. A godly perspective. Amen. Let's give God a hand clap of praise. Amen. It has been said the messages Moses delivered to his people were significant and vital. Moses knew the Israelites better than anyone, so it was not weird that Moses spent much time trying to teach and guide them. It's amazing that the people that you're around all the time, whether you realize it or not, you're trying to teach them something because you may realize that something just isn't right. No one else was in a better position to anticipate future developments than Moses. Moses initially reminded the Israelites that their encampment and departure in the Sinai Peninsula was based on the generations that came out of Egypt, murmured and rebelled time and time and time again. Thus, they were denied entrance into the promised land. It's one thing to complain to man about man, but it's another thing to complain to man about God. You have to keep a godly perspective.
Yes.
Moses was a chosen vessel of God, but in no way was Moses a perfect man. Moses had struggles, disappointments, murdered a man, and questioned God about what he was doing. In many respects, Moses and the Israelites sound a lot like the people we deal with on a daily basis. The Ten Commandments are found in Exodus 20, and Moses was reminded about being brought out of Egypt. Exodus being the second book of the Bible, and if we break it down, some of you have been taught about an exoskeleton in school. Exo means outer, so Moses was trying to help get the Israelites out of bondage. Exodus also shows us in detail Moses dealing with the kind of people that none of us want to put up with. Complaining folk. Complaining folk are all around us, and it seems like in the world in which we live, complaining folks are getting much worse. You ain't got to look at anybody for this part, but they'll think you're telling them. My new thing for complaining folks is you're right. So do it yourself, since no one else can do it but you. This helps to quickly diffuse the situation, as people want to complain, but they don't want to do. Do any better. Do any work. Do any problem solving. Do any sweat equity. Do any praying. And do anything that resembles making a breakthrough. They only want to complain. We need folks to have a godly perspective, because anybody can complain, but somebody needs to be about our Father's business.
Yes, amen.
It's amazing how, as I drive along, I see certain things from time to time in nature, how I just have to pause for the cause and to see what's really going on. I saw not too long ago a squirrel and a rabbit, but I was amazed at what was going on. I saw how this squirrel and this rabbit were only about a few feet apart from one another, but yet neither one was bothering the other one. They were both eating, but they weren't eating the same thing, so they were both content at what was going on. Typically, when you see animals in nature, they are running wide open, trying to avoid danger and safely get to the next place, no matter where it may be. This is what makes the experience of seeing that rabbit and that squirrel even so much interesting for me, because they both were very peaceful. And truthfully, if one would have reached out, they could have come very close to touching the other one. But they weren't concerned about the other one, because they were trying to eat their share and leave the rest of that stuff alone. It's amazing, as both of them were content with eating, and how we as humans can learn a lot from the rabbit and the squirrel. If people can learn, it's all right to realize there's more available food, and we don't need to argue over the last breast chicken that you can find in a box. It's amazing how well we can get along with one another. If people can realize there are more resources on the shelf, just more than the one that you had, and that you don't have to worry about picking that last dress off of the shelf, and that there may be some more in the back, we wouldn't have to worry and argue over trivial things. If we would learn it's more than he and she in the world, and people don't have to try to date the same people time and time again, it will be amazing for us to learn that there are more things in the world rather than just looking at one or two. It depends on the way we look at it that we need to have a godly perspective, because we let trivial things mess us up all the time. It's amazing how even though you have laid claim to the same parking place at the same church for a long time, that you are ready to cut somebody out if they park with you for years, we need to realize we need to have a godly perspective, because trivial things will mess us up on every hand. It's amazing how people will have remote control for the TV, and they will pass by the TV trying to find a remote control rather than just changing the channel when you get to the TV. We mess with trivial things, and it is messing us up. It's amazing how people worry about people being vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. At the end of the day, if you have a godly perspective, you can pray that God will take care of you, whether somebody else is getting taken care of or not, because you don't know what they're dealing with, what they're going through, but you need to put it all in perspective for yourself and leave all that other stuff alone. But we got to have a godly perspective. You see, as Moses was dealing with the people, here as we look at this book of Deuteronomy, he was coming to the end of his journey. He had gotten to the point that he had been dealing with crazy folks, these Israelites, for a long time, and either wanted to turn them back over and give them back to God. But God said, I have work for you to do, and so he kept them with him. And so as Moses is delivering this now, it's a poetic song that he's trying to give the people to let them know, out of all the things that you have done, out of all the things that you have been through, God is still not pleased, because you are still choosing idol gods over choosing the one and only God. It tells us, I will proclaim the name of the Lord, or praise the greatness of our God. He is the rock. His works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong, upright and just is he. We got to begin to realize and understand for ourselves that we got to realize who God truly is. You see, we reduce God down to thinking that God is just like our homeboys, one of our buddies that we can hang out with. God deserves all of our praise. He deserves our respect. He deserves our all in all, because he's the only one that has helped keeping us here we are today.
Amen.
And as I began to realize, I was flipping through the channels the other night, and I was watching the weather channel. They talked about Joplin, Missouri, and a tornado that came through. Not just one, but two came through the same area. And I thought about how so many of our lives could be impacted right here in Elton, Georgia, Madison County, Washington, Wilkes, Athens. But God has still been good to us. I see how flood waters are rising. I see how storms are raging. I see how fires are burning. But God is still being good to us. I get it. Rain fell from the sky yesterday in Elton, but He didn't allow you to get caught up in the flood. That's because we serve a good God. People don't respect Him because He's trying to let you know right now, through it all, I've still been good to you. I still can bless you. I still can bring you out all right. I still love you. And even if the flood water comes, I won't let you drown because you are still my child and I will lift you up to high ground. That's a good God. But we got to keep a godly perspective. We get caught up on trivial things. I get it. The top pressure may be low in your car, but thank God you can still roll. Somebody got a flat tire that didn't move at all. We got to keep a godly perspective.
Yes, amen.
We get caught up on so many trivial things in life that we miss out on what God is trying to do. Somebody could have come in here this morning and being upset. Now, why does she have to sit right there? I can't see like, oh, let's shift to the other side. It's going to be all right. We get caught up on stuff that can mess you up because you can't understand how God is still significant above all things. It says right here, my brothers and sisters, that He is the rock. His works are perfect and all His ways are just. That means that He don't make any mistakes. That means even when He created you, you still have a uniqueness in this place. And I get it, we even got two twins in here, but at the same time, they both are individuals for themselves. They don't act just alike, don't talk just alike, and some people may say, I can't tell you apart, but God can. And as long as God can tell who you are, that's all that matters. Because at the end of the day, some people have already buried you in hell a long time ago, but God raised you up because He said I had a godly perspective and I had work for you to do. So even though man and woman may have buried you a long time ago, God got you up because He had something else in store just for you. Oh, my brothers and sisters, it goes on right here and says, they have acted corruptly toward Him. To their shame, they are no longer His children. Now, that's dangerous talk right there. But it says right here, but a warped and crooked generation. Is this the way you repay the Lord, O foolish and unwise people? Is He not your Father, your Creator, who made you and formed you? It's amazing how people will put everything before they go and turn to God for all they need. They'll try to figure things out on their own. They'll try to call on somebody. And He has already told you a long time ago that He is the great I am, that He's going to be with you. But we still turn to one another to try to find some solace and some comfort and some satisfaction because we feel like God has forgotten about us. Let me help you out. I get it. So many people have tossed and turned, stayed up all night, worried about what tomorrow will bring. But every once in a while, you need to call on the name of the Lord and let Him do the thing for you. Let Him be the one. Because He wants you to have sweet rest. And I don't mean eternal rest. He wants you to be able to have sweet rest right here on earth. Amen. But you got to realize His perspective is not like our perspective. Our perspective says that you only have $10 to make it to the end of the month. His perspective says, I've already taken care of all your needs and your wants. And you don't have to worry about a thing. Your perspective says, my children act like they don't have good sense and I'm ready to kill all of them. His perspective says, they ain't yours anyway. Let me take care of them. Because I'm the only one that can work this thing out. Your perspective says, everybody around me keep turning their back on me. His perspective says, I told them folks to walk away from you anyway. Quit trying to call them back. And so He's trying to let you know for yourself that when you keep a godly perspective, everything starts to make sense. And you don't have to try to remain and go with your own laurels because He's already working things out for you. Who wouldn't want to serve a good God like that? And so it tells us right here, oh foolish and unwise people, is He not your Father, your Creator, who made you and formed you? Since He made you, He understands you. You got to take some things back to the manufacturer because other people just can't get it right. I get it. Some people will try to say that we practice medicine, that we are doing some things, but some things the manufacturer has to work things out. Because since He made you, He's the only one that can understand you. And some of you scratch your heads looking at other folks and you try to figure out for a long time, who in the world made somebody like that? It was still God. That's still His child. And just because you don't understand them, God does. So give them back to the manufacturer because you can't do anything with them anyway. Tell your neighbor, that's good food for thought. We keep trying to take care of God's business rather than staying in our lane taking care of our business. And so it tells us right here that they have acted corruptly toward him. To their shame, they are no longer his children. And that really bothered me because, and I flipped that a little bit because how we live in a time crunch and a time situation. And so I go back to that point from the standpoint of how he is your father and he's turned away from him. But I talk about acting corruptly because it's amazing how groupthink is a real concept. How when you get around other folks, you may not even have the same kind of perspective, but if you hang around them long enough, you'll start talking at the same way they do. And before you know it, you get caught up thinking that what they're saying is right, and you turn away from what God, because you are corrupt and your mind has been made incorruptible. And so what you got to be careful of, it says, to their shame, they are no longer his children. It's sad when you try to walk outside of the lines of God. You just can't make it by yourself. You may try, you may push, you may try to figure it out, but you just can't make it out there all by yourself. I told you last week that one thing about it, you can be in such a predicament for so long that you think you got it going on. But it's still going to crash and fail because God is not with it. Same is true for churches. The reason some churches don't make it, they got a great way of doing things, it's just not a godly perspective. And God does not create mess. So he wants to be able to bless you beyond measure, but you got to keep it all in perspective. My brothers and sisters, it goes on to tell us right here, remember the days of old. Consider the generations long past. Ask your father, and he will tell you, your elders, and they will explain to you, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance. And it goes on to talk about all these things with the inheritance that was given. And that wasn't part of our text for today, but just looking at it, all of us have been given a great inheritance. Amen. We are already, now I get it, you think about dimes and dollars, but our inheritance is not laid up here on earth. Our inheritance we have, he's laid up for us treasures in heaven. But at the same time, he's trying to let us work through a mindset, try to work through some things right here on earth to try to bless us. But it's amazing how you can give some folks some of the best of the best, and yet they'll mess it up every time. Amen. They'll tear it up, they'll tear it down, and they won't appreciate anything that you've given them. Parents see it all the time. They try to make their lives for the children a little bit better. They may even buy them a car, and the child will tear it up on every hand and look for the parent to buy them something else. But the parent will say, no, I bought you that new set of tires that you didn't appreciate. I bought you that car that you kept running off the road hitting everything. I bought you all these things, but you just didn't appreciate. So it's time for you to learn for yourself. Yeah. God does the same thing. While he will still love us, he's got to whoop us and chastise us to get us to understand that he is working some things out right now. Anybody else been whipped by the master and you know that he had to break you in order to make you, and he had to work on you because you just weren't going the right way? And again, it's embarrassing sometimes, but he has the best plan in store because he's trying to get you to see that you need a godly perspective in everything that you do, because man's perspective will mess you up. Anybody know that man's perspective will mess you up? Get you in a place where you think you can't even think for yourself, talking like you ain't never talked before, acting like you ain't never acted before, because they don't have your best interest in mind. But God will still talk with you. He'll still walk with you. He'll still tell you that you are his own. And that lets you know that he will never leave you nor will he forsake you. So that happens when we keep a godly perspective. And so I began to look at this passage and understand a little bit better some of the things that were going on. And when I saw this part, and I went over to the end because this is a pretty long passage right here. But I got over towards the end of this passage, and I began to really understand it a little bit better, some things that were going on. And it talks about right here, in 44, it talks about Joshua, and Joshua ended up taking over from Moses when Moses wasn't allowed to be the one to bring the children all the way in. We see that Joshua took over, but more so than that, it says in 45, when Moses finished reciting all these words to Israel, he said to them, take to heart all these words. I have something declared to you this day, so that you may command your children to obey carefully all the words of this law. You see, it's not just up to us to keep the words that we've been taught. We got to spread it on to other generations. We got to let this world know, this dying world know about the wages of sin and death, but the gift of God is still eternal life. We got to let people know that in the midst of everything that's going on, that God is real, and he will still avenge trouble for trouble, danger for danger, and will still make your oppressors bow down if they try to hurt his children. As that passage goes through, it highlights all the people that were struggling, that need to be brought out all right, all the people that went through some stuff, and it highlights and tells us that we got to be careful about not appreciating what God has done for us. We got to be careful about always saying what's so good about such and such. We got to be careful about trying to stay in places and say that, well, if God was so good, I wouldn't have these troubles. No, baby. If God is so good, you wouldn't be here. But since he is so good, he's allowed you to see a brand new day, allowed you to get up, allowed you to be on your very way, allowed you to take and put one foot in front of the other, allowed you to be able to touch your own head, allowed you to be able to put a snap in your fingers, allowed you to be able to put clap in your hand, allowed you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And even if you can't do that, he's blessed you to have one more day where you can still say, this is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Because he is mighty good, and he's been so good to us. And that's the reason why we got to let people know we got to have a godly perspective. Because the world perspective will mess you up. And that's why we got to be careful about the way we do things. You see, life without bathing is incomplete, as the smell tells on you. Because you just don't stand the way that you need to. And you don't have to say a mumbling word. Life without food is incomplete, as your stature and lack thereof will tell a story without you saying a mumbling word. Life without deodorant, it will tell on you. Life without toothpaste or a toothbrush, it will definitely speak for you. Bad attitudes, they tell on you. Jealousy will tell on you. Revenge, it tells on you. And again, you don't have to say a word. Life without prayer, it will tell on you. Because you arrive at the point when you fall for anything. People get you caught up and messed up on anything they say. Because you arrive at the point when you don't understand that your hopes are built on things eternal and you're not holding to God's unchanging hand. God is not impressed with your self-told, holy, and blessed and highly favored type demeanor. I get it. I'm blessed and highly favored. I didn't ask you that. I see how the Lord has blessed you. I want to know what are you doing for him. He's not impressed with you showing up at public events trying to seek personal attention. Go somewhere and sit yourself down. Because God has been good to all of us. All of us got a testimony about what God has brought us through. We don't need to hear you having a champion for Jesus party. All of us got a testimony. Has God done anything for anybody out there today? Has he taught you through anything? Has he picked you up in any way? And you have a testimony. Because the test didn't keep you from being blessed. You still were able to rise up. You still were able to get out of your comfort zone. And people can't understand exactly what he's doing for you right now. So when you know that he got you up with all the things that you need, with even some of the things that you want, then you need to have a godly perspective and let this down the world know, I go for Jesus in everything that I do. Jesus is my Savior. Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. Jesus is my bond that I can hold on to, and he will never leave me, nor will he forsake me, because he's given me a godly perspective, and I understand this thing a lot better than what I used to. Oh, my brothers and sisters, that little side mirror on your car tells you that things are closer than what they appear. That gives me sound news. Because anytime I think I'm out there all by myself, Jesus is closer than what he appears. He's right there for me. He's holding me up, propping me up on every minute side. Letting me know that he's not going to let me fail, not going to let me fall. Because he didn't put me in this race to try to run all by myself. That's a good God. But at the same time, he's not impressed with all this foolish stuff that we do. But we got to keep a godly perspective. There is no past that can't be told. There is no past that's too troubled for the old, too controversial. Because there's plenty of evidence that God has already fixed some folks up that were used for a greater purpose. God chose a murderer and million named Moses and made him a prophet to lead his people to freedom. Only God can do that. He took a drunk named Noah and let him preach. Only God can do that. He took a prostitute in Canaan named Rahab, called her blessed, and used her in one of the greatest Israelite victories ever known, called her blessed over many nations. And don't you know, he even fixed it up in such a way, he changed her name because the old name just wouldn't work out for her. So he changed her name. Anybody's name been changed with Jesus before? Realize you just couldn't make it the way you used to. So he had to clean you up in such a way that he had to change the name. And
appears and it led to Jesus Christ. Only God can do that. Take a prostitute and let her be right there with Jesus. So while you condemning everybody, I say, go Jesus, go Jesus, go. You do what you do, and the rest will take care of itself. He took a Christian man by the name of Saul and made him a great apostle, Paul. And I can go on and on. But at the same time, he took you and me. And that's all love. Say, come on here. Don't worry about what the haters are saying. I got you. I got work for you to do. So he said, I'm going to clean you up. I'm going to change the name around. Don't worry about what the haters are saying. I got work for you to do. Anybody don't be mind me and use my Jesus because you're taking a godly perspective. He's got work for us to do, church. We can go on and on about all the people in the Bible, but I go on and on about all these blessings I see. I get excited about all these blessings I see. I get happy about all these blessings I see because you got a story about how he brought you out all right. Who would want to serve a God like that? That in the midst of everything you've gone through, he still gives you more than what you ever could need. If God can use those people, he can use you as well. But you need to have a godly perspective. There is still time for you to clean up, clean out, bring in, and bring up. And you have all those things you messed up with along the way. We all have a past, but thank God we all have a future. And our future is not dependent upon man, but God is all up in that thing. And he's going to work it on out for us. Amen. So teach the children about a godly perspective. Yes. We can always teach them about all the hatred and all the evil in the world, but teach them to know that God is still in control. Amen. And when you keep a godly perspective, you can be just like Moses, trying to teach the Israelites and let those people know, out of all the mess that's been done down through the years, the Lord has still been good to you. Amen. And the same is true for us. Out of all the forefathers we've had that try to mess us up along the way, I get generational curses are real, but somebody got to break the curse. Stop trying to live in the past and realize that God has some blessings for you right now in the future. Keep a godly perspective, and everything will start to make sense. I got a feeling. I got a feeling today, church. I got a feeling that everything's going to be all right. And I thank God that he's already cleaned us up in such a way that everything is going to be all right. So you may come in here downtrodden, but Deacon Marvin said it already. You need to leave out of here skip, hollering, happy all day long. Because he's doing something for you right now. He's brought you out all right now. Keep a godly perspective. And let those haters be your motivators. Don't let those people hold you back, hold you down. Keep your godly perspective in everything. And I mean everything. Everything is going to be all right. Keep your godly perspective. And he'll show you exactly who he truly is. Amen. Moses tried to get the Israelites to understand. Even Moses had his downfalls, church. And he wasn't even allowed to carry out until the end all those things that he wanted to do, had even initially been instructed to do. Joshua came on the scene and took the people on in. Yes, and so you will still have to give account for the things you do. Amen. You won't be able to do everything you want to do. But at the same time, down through the years, he has still been good to us. Amen. And so we need to celebrate and recognize and tell this down the world that in the midst of everything that's going on, I serve God because he's the only one that can take care of me. Amen. Keep a godly perspective in everything you do. And I declare everything will be all right. Let us all message for today. A godly perspective.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved.
thank God for what he